D-Dub here. What's going on? Want to talk about E3 being canceled, the coronavirus, kind of strange shit going on. Of course, E3 got canceled. I thought maybe it would be postponed, and here it is, it's canceled. I think it's the right call. I'm not too concerned. Of course, probably throughout the month of June, certain companies before and after, they're going to be doing online presentations, or maybe not even just straight digital presentations, but stuff where they build a set, maybe like an infomercial style thing. Like, some of these people are going to have to get creative to sell their product. So when it comes to that, I'm looking forward to that. Does E3 need to have all the people from the street, 100,000 people all gathered at once just to play like new games, all the hype behind it? There's a lot of less stage time now. It's more so about all the booths, all the new products. Those are all interesting to see, and we're going to get that info. But what I kind of find the funniest is that last year, after E3 wrapped up, after the E3 info leak that happened, all these mid-sized to big channels to even some giant channels that covered the E3 leaks, they talked about just how incompetent the people that run E3 are, how it was about 1,000 different people that got their info leaked, and these were publicity folk that had showed up, attended, and basically their online passport, I guess you could say, their info for showing up to E3, which has a lot of info, that all got leaked. But after that, the videos, the comments, the podcast, the topics, those all just rolled out. And basically the consensus seemed to be that just incompetence. Maybe it was time for something new to come along. Maybe it's time for E3 to move out of LA and maybe try a different venue. Maybe it was time for E3 to take a break for a year. Maybe it was time for E3 to shut it down or break into different sectors and use things like PAX West, East, South, all these different gaming conventions, the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. Maybe it's time to make a new breeding ground that's something like that. Maybe it's less about the fans and more about getting the media pass for media folks, for people that are going to be covering this thing. Or maybe you just get rid of the media people altogether and you kind of film and televise it and it's just for the fans. Maybe it's time for E3 to hang it up. Maybe it's time for something else to go alongside E3 and to kind of push a little bit of that spotlight off of E3 itself as a whole. And that maybe it's just E3 was dead. And a lot of people voiced their opinion pretty strongly, at least it seemed from me. I saw probably at least 30, 40 different people cover that topic specifically on that day, the day after, the following day, into that weekend after that leak happened. And the consensus seemed pretty clear that some people were fake raging. They were saying, I was planning on going to E3 this year, it didn't happen, and I really had my heart set on going next year, but no way in hell am I going. Kind of like, screw E3, screw the people that run that whole show, and that it's just about dead, and that those same people were pretty much fine with it. And now here we are, less than a year later, 9 months later, E3 would be coming up in about 3.5, 4 months, and now that's not happening. And these same people, it's just so funny that these same people, they're now giving their opinion of their dissatisfaction and their confusion. They understand why it's not happening, but they want to know what the outcome is going to be. They know that it's going to be these digital presentations. Like I said, they're probably going to get pretty creative with these different companies, who's going to be showing what, how they're going to do it, if it's just going to be tweets, if we're going to see basically like a direct, some more edited, some more processed than others, maybe some more raw than others, like even like a basement style sit down podcast for, say, Hyperkin and their newest accessories for whatever they're working on, whatever they would have shown. Maybe Atari VCS, maybe that's what they need, is like a Wayne's World VHS basement type show that kind of feels like a Devolver Digital skit to try to sell you the Atari VCS. So this thing wasn't postponed, and now it's just kind of crazy to think about. Regardless, there was a lot of fake rage, and a lot of these people are phonies because now they're just kind of saddened and tweeting and retweeting and talking about what's going to happen, how big of a shock this is going to be to gaming as a whole, what might change from here on out. And people aren't okay with change most of the time. As you all know, it's the coronavirus going around. That's why it just can't happen. And I actually just saw some of the president's kind of state of address to this whole situation. And there's basically going to be this big lull that we're going through right now. The stock market's going to be crashing. It's going to be probably the beginning to another recession as we start cutting ties and suspending all these types of businesses and imports and all types of different industry manufacturing goods. And a lot of this stuff is going to just be kind of disappearing for a minute. And that's kind of a scary thought, more so than just thinking about kind of silly video games. But it's also crazy to think that just 2 weeks ago at PAX South, how many podcasts I saw, how many tweets I saw of people saying that Sony deciding to pull out was all just a big PR thing and that they just didn't have their ducks in a row. They didn't have the right hands of cards. They didn't have their poker face on. And for some reason, not the reason that Sony said, it wasn't the coronavirus. They just weren't showing up because of something business on their end. They wouldn't take into consideration things that I said. I was in some of these chats saying that it's more than just video games. We're talking about international travel with foreign people, foreign policies, different types of public ways of handling these types of things, different governments and things on TV and media telling these people the so-called facts that they believe to be true. So you have these different mindsets, these different political wanderings and like looking ons that are kind of scaring people, freaking people out. And at that point, when you're not just dealing with a single company, you're trying to bring them all together, all these different products, all these different sectors from different parts of the world, and you're trying to get these people together. When you break it down, just the fact of getting these people together, getting on planes, flying overseas, flying over borders, dealing with passports, getting searched, getting checked, the rise of this whole thing and the amount of cases was uprising and still rising now to almost a scary degree. Some that people didn't think it was going to really turn out this way, this fast. I tried to be the voice of reason to some of these people, saying that if any of these people get sick and they got to go back home, maybe some of them can't go back home. Maybe by that point, there's already enough cases. You know, they spend the weekend at a PAX East, Boston, and, you know, they're trying to fly out. They might be trying to go home. They might be trying to go back to Europe. They might be trying to go back to Italy or South America or Japan, anywhere in Asia. Who knows where they're trying to go? And at that point, maybe the protocols, maybe the way that they would be trying to test these people and rally these people to try to slow this thing down and actually see who is going to be sick, see who's not, see who has it, see who doesn't, trying to quarantine, all these different things. And it wasn't just for Sony. At that point, like I said, 2 weeks ago, all these different companies were starting to announce that, not even just gaming related, all sorts of different business people from all sorts of different businesses across the world have saying, I'm suspending my travel. I'm not going to be going overseas. I'm going to be trying to work from my computer more at home. The traveling protocol and the restrictions, this thing is ramping up and it's getting kind of crazy. And we all just kind of got to sit back and see just how this thing plays out. And so I said this thing to people, and gamers can be, which I don't feel like I am in that same group, but they can just be stubborn, hard-headed, thick. I like conspiracies just as much as anybody else, but when something like Sony, they say, hey, we're not showing up, the restrictions, you know, for our staff, It's just too much of a risk. There's too much going on right now. We're just going to back out. Some people took it as fear mongering. And my simple statement to that was, just because Sony says, hey, we got a lot going on, we're not going. You can go ahead, be safe, but we're not doing it. That is not fear mongering. That is being precautious. And in this era right now where we're in the Switch's midlife cycle, people seem to want a direct, they want new news, they want new games so bad that they're not thinking on a business level. They want their silly video games. They don't think that the risks that are involved with this, with being a company, with being in charge of people, delegating things, getting people to travel, the restrictions, the protocol, the responsibility, like the insurance. Because that's what it is. It's an insurance and it's a liability all at once. And these hard-headed gamers, they just weren't having any of that. They said, Sony says they're not showing up. They probably don't have the parts ready for their PS5, which, they say it's because of the coronavirus, but, this thing might be $600, blah, blah, and they're just going on and on about all these stupid things that don't pertain to what is actually going on in the world, and the fact is that it's the coronavirus. Fast forward 2 weeks later, and there's not just 15 or 20 cases that were in the U.S. just like 2 weeks ago. Now we're at thousands. It's going to be hundreds of thousands, just like that. About a week ago, I had a friend. He went to a local hospital, probably like 22 miles away. He had to get some surgery done, and he said that hospital said that they had their first 2 cases of the coronavirus, and those people were shacked up in the hospital. That was just 6 days ago. And now today, one of the local schools that's actually just maybe 2 or 3 miles up the road, they are closed. There's 7 new cases. And now just in my kind of small county, now 96 cases or something like that. And I'm sure by tomorrow, that number is going to be jumped to at least 100. And in about a week or 2, it's going to be 200 or 300. And that's why this thing is being called a pandemic now. It has reached that point, and it's kind of scary. And I also have what used to be the main hospital around here for this town. It basically went bankrupt, and then it got shut down for a bit. Another company kind of took it over, and they turned it into a satellite emergency center. So there is an ER up there. There's also there's like a dentistry area. They also have like some x-ray machines and stuff like that. It's very low profile. It's not fully functioning, although they do have a helipad, and they do occasionally come and pick people up to bring them to an actual real hospital. That's like a good hour and a half away. And that hospital is probably less than 100 yards that way. And they're urging people to now call if you feel like you might have the coronavirus, because I guess when you show up to the front door, they're going to put you in some kind of one of those old school scuba diving, made out of the cast iron, a scuba diving thing, and try to walk you into the room to get you to the zero pressure room before you walk in and contaminate the whole hospital, because apparently that's what's been happening. I was at the dollar store earlier, and some woman was looking for Lysol. They're all out of that. They're all out of hand sanitizer. There was some old women with the face mask on, and they're coughing and stuff, but apparently if you're not wearing like the goggles, it can still get in your eyes. And at this point, it just seems like this stuff is in the air. So be careful and don't go outside. So I just wrapped up my Pokemon card opening just to kind of do something funny, silly. So go check that video out if you'd be so kind. I would appreciate it. And yeah, this is the reality of it. Now E3 is canceled, and everything else going forward is going to be canceled. We're probably not going to be hearing from Nintendo for a little bit. I'm really glad that Animal Crossing is coming out. Now, conspiracy or no, I still will not have, nor will I believe, that Animal Crossing needed to be delayed. At the end of this past summer, they said that Animal Crossing needed just a little bit more time in the oven, a little bit more polish, and everybody took it for what it was. But now that we're at this point and there's no first-party games coming out, much like last year, we had Yoshi's Crafted World and a couple other, like Assassin's Creed, like old third-party kind of ports. And the previous year before that, we had Kirby Star Allies with a couple other like third-party type of ports. So at the end of last year, we had Dragon Quest XI S, which has been way too long waiting to come out on Switch. We heard that Metroid Prime 4 got delayed. The Metroid Prime trilogy, that just sort of vanished. We had Pokemon, that came out. That would never get delayed from November, and it sold record-breaking, 18 million in like 6 weeks. I don't even know what that game's at right now. And I think Animal Crossing can actually beat it. I think it just might be the only game, and it might just be hyped up so much that there's not much else to play, that a lot of people that do have kind of just a Switch like those kinds of games, the family kind of first-party Nintendo games, that they might just be crazy enough to all go out and just say, I'm gonna try it, and we might see some crazy numbers like 15 million. My prediction was that the game was gonna sell 23 million lifetime, but at this point, I'm thinking it might actually beat Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And it might actually overshadow that. Who knows, it might not. It might tie, it might come in just below. But my solid prediction, and I'm, stamping it, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to say that Animal Crossing is going to sell 23 million by the time the Switch is over, but it could reach close to that very quick, much like Pokemon did. So anyways, at the end of last year, we had Pokemon come out. That would never be delayed. Link's Awakening would have been a decent game to delay till now or in a few weeks, or maybe it just came out like a month ago, like in the beginning of February, something like that. That could have worked. And then Luigi's Mansion 3 coming out now would just be absurd. So there was so many games at the end of last year. You had Daemon X Machina kind of kicking off the beginning of the summer. You had Astral Chain, Luigi's Mansion, Pokemon, Link's Awakening. The only game that would make sense now, looking at it with no games coming out, would be that big, especially with Pokemon selling that record breaking for Q4, then going into, and as a business, you want to have steady turnover for investors. You want to have good numbers. You don't want to have massive Christmas and then Q1 just be record breaking low. I mean, if you can stick an Animal Crossing in there and almost get a record breaking high when compared to, say, the Wii U's quarter ones for those 4.5, 5 years, something like Animal Crossing, it's just going to keep things trucking right along until we can get to summer and see what else they got going on. So anyways, I don't believe that Animal Crossing was delayed for any reason other than that there are no games coming out right now, which is pretty goddamn apparent. And maybe we will see a direct right after Animal Crossing. People are saying that now, but that's been the way that I've felt for the past 2.5, 3 months. Like, we didn't get a direct. The new year started. We didn't see anything. There wasn't really anybody saying this is like kind of a concrete leak. Everybody was just saying, well, maybe next week. Oh, I'll say like February 12th, maybe we'll get a direct. That might make sense. Maybe it'll be in March. Maybe Mar 10, Mario Day. And still nothing. People are saying maybe it's coming out next week, that there was kind of a rumor and somebody said something that we're going to get an indie showcase followed by the following week of an actual direct, which we will see what's going on with the summer. And people were only in March, and people are saying, anytime now, I mean, it's a whole thing. We need a Nintendo Direct. I mean, aside from Animal Crossing, and Nintendo still hasn't told us the big holiday game this year. We're only in March. I mean, sure, previously we knew, like, okay, this year's going to be Pokemon. It's been 3 years since the last one. That kind of thing makes sense, but for this year, I mean, come on, it's going to be Breath of the Wild 2. Like, I think that's almost guaranteed. Maybe not. It could be Breath of the Wild 2, along with Bayonetta 3. Maybe Shin Megami Tensei 5 comes out, which isn't a big holiday game. Chances are something else will come up when this next Direct pops up, and it's going to be something we weren't even thinking about. But until then, we still got Trials of Mana, which is looking fantastic. You got Doom, which might be coming out on the Switch sometime in the summer. We don't really know how long that's going to be delayed by. Supposedly, maybe, depending on now with all these trading bans and suspensions with the coronavirus, the current world events and health however people are stating it, but here on D-Dub we just say coronavirus because I ain't making any money from this. So if you want to subscribe, hit the like button and share this video. That would be awesome. We're almost to 200 subscribers. The channel's over a year old now with 150 videos, and we're still not at 200 subscribers yet. So, you know, thanks for watching, everybody. Just my thoughts and opinions. I could just keep this video going on and on. It's just been a rant, but those are kind of just my thoughts on E3, the coronavirus, what's going on. You might not be getting your Xbox One, Series X, Xbox Series X, or your PlayStation 5 coming this holiday. Maybe Breath of the Wild 2 is never coming. Maybe Metroid Prime 4 is never coming out in the Metroid Prime trilogy. Maybe that's never coming out either. But a while ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, I had also heard that a Nintendo Direct was coming for a Paper Mario Direct. That's a sequel to the Thousand Year Door. That still could be on the back burner. Who knows? An indie showcase? I don't know. I think we will hear news though after Animal Crossing comes out. Maybe a week or two after. And that's been my gut feeling for a while, is it's time to just focus on that game. We're coming to the end of Q1. That game needs to sell hot. We'll get past that, and then we'll let you guys know. But with the coronavirus, all this stuff could be maybe being pushed back. We don't really know, but now everybody's wishes of PlayStation and Ubisoft and whoever, Hyperkin and Devolver Digital and all these different other third-party companies and limited run games. Get ready, guys. You're gonna be getting nothing but Nintendo Direct style stuff, to the point where people are gonna probably get sick of that. They're gonna want to see somebody walk out on the stage. If PS5 gets revealed in a tweet that just takes you to a YouTube video with some guy kind of standing there, I guess the way that they unveiled the Switch, it wouldn't go over and be as fondly looked back on. It'll just be like, oh, that time when they revealed the PS5, where the guy came out and he showed it, that was cool. But the coronavirus was going on, and we would have rather had some kind of live presentation at E3 or something like that. So, I don't know. Just my thoughts again on E3 and all that. And hey, this is D-Dub. I hope you have a good day. And I think I'm gonna get the coronavirus. I mean, it's literally like right next door. I'm trying not to go outside. I don't want to take my dogs out for walks because it's breathable right here. So wish me luck. And if I happen to get it, I will let you guys know. I'll be being forced to quarantine for 2 weeks, which is probably the worst thing, but these hospitals are getting overrun, and at some point they're just gonna tell me to probably stay home. So I'd be happy with that because Animal Crossing's coming out. I don't want to get locked up for 2 weeks when Animal Crossing's coming out. I mean, unless they let me have my Switch, which, hey, I doubt that would happen. But this is D-Dub. Subscribe, hit that thumbs up. Thank you for watching this long-ass rant. I'll catch you guys next time. See you later.